Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Amma ba'd. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to another session of our Qurbani laws, Fiqh of Qurbani. This is the final session, or we have a session after this? We have one after this? One? Okay. Right, so the thing about this class, 3 or 4 different places are teaching the same topic right now. So the where we left out last week, I don't know. Alright, but the compulsion within the part what Qurbani being compulsory upon a person, what we don't know, right? Right, so Qurbani, when does Qurbani become compulsory upon a person? Alright? We understand, okay, when zakah becomes compulsory upon a person, so we have our zakah calculator, we calculate zakah, right? But many times a person, he does Qurbani because, he loves doing Qurbani, right? Is Qurbani obligatory upon me or not? But there's a way that, we can work it out and calculate to see if Qurbani is obligatory. Look at our the zakah form. Just brief so you'll understand. When we calculate in zakah, we just look at what zakatable assets, right? Zakatable assets in a nutshell is what our cash, currency, goods for trade, like that. More or less, this is our zakatable asset. The cash that we have, with our currency, we have gold, silver, items for trade, any commodities for trade. This is our zakatable assets. Then we have our liabilities. So we deduct our liabilities from our zakatable asset, right? And after deducting, if it equates or exceeds the value of the nisab, you pay zakah. Alright? So you can work the same calculation here. Except that if a person after using this calculation, he does not reach the nisab. It does not mean that Qurbani is not obligatory upon him. Alright? If until this stage, he does not have the nisab, then that person should now look at his non-zakatable assets. Right? Qurbani becomes wajib upon a person also who has non-zakatable assets which are in excess, it exceeds his needs. And that excess, it equates the nisab or more than nisab. For example, a person, he has He has vacant land that he's not using, right? He has 2 or 3 vehicles. He has many appliance tools that he's not even using, or tools that he doesn't use these tools to seek a livelihood, right? So all of these things now, right? He has 2 houses. He live here and he live there, right? This is beyond the basic needs of a person. And these things, there's no zakah. If you have 5, 6 vehicles, you don't have to pay zakah on that. If every day you want to drive one, you don't pay zakah on that. But when it comes to receiving zakah or Qurbani being obligatory, you look at that also. So a person maybe connected to 1 or 2 vehicles, means more than that. That is extra. And you look and see the extra now. If it is more than it, if it equates the nisab or more than the nisab, a person have a set of the crockery, wares and this and that, he just put it away. Probably use it once for the year, right? That is you don't pay zakah on that, but why? Because it's not zakatable asset. But it is something that is beyond our basic needs. And if it is whatever is beyond our basic needs and it equates the value of the nisab or more, then that person has to give zakah. Not zakah, that person has to do Qurbani. For example, a person collecting pension, 3,500 for the month. Man has no money, meaning he has no cash. Right? But this man, he has acres of land, just vacant, he owns property. Right? So this person, he may not have cash at hand, but he has non-zakatable assets which are beyond his needs. And the excess is it worth more than the nisab. So that person, he has no Qurbani. So then the obvious question a person would ask, so then how he doing Qurbani then? He have to go and borrow money to do Qurbani? No, listen, when a person dies, for example, in the estate, right? He dies, leave behind an estate. He has creditors outside to pay, right? He owes Zai 10,000, Omar 10,000, Bakar 10,000. So these people now come to claim, and that is according to the Sharia, what? They are entitled to what? That from his estate, right? Understand here? When we do inheritance, and we have a whole course in inheritance, inshallah, right? When a person dies, right, before that money can even go to the heirs, right, the family, the first people that are paid are what? The creditors who you owe. After funeral expenses, who you owe. So if a person dies leaving behind what? 10 million. That 10 million, listen, before it goes to the children and the wife, look at the creditors. If he owes what? 10 million in what? Debts outside, then khalas, there's no inheritance in that estate. It goes to the creditors. So anyhow, so if a person, what? Zaid, Muhammad and Bakar comes to claim, but the man didn't leave any cash behind. You were 10,000, he was 10,000, next someone 10,000, he didn't leave any cash behind. It's not connected to cash, asset in whatever form. So the asset has to be what? Liquidated to pay these creditors. What? The estate will be liquidated to pay, because that is their rights. Similarly, listen, a person, we always use the example of a gold chain. A gold chain has what? 40 links, for example, a 40 link gold chain. And say that this gold chain, what? It equates the nisab, the value of it, the nisab, or more than the nisab. And the person has no cash. They just have this gold chain. Right? Why we use 40 links? Because zakah is 1/40th. So when zakah becomes obligatory now, so what to the person has no money, so what are they going to do? You take out one link, yes, what? And then give that in zakah. Or when you do get cash, you give that amount in zakah. So it doesn't mean that what? If I don't have cash, if my assets are not in the form of cash, is not liquid, then I cannot pay zakah, or I cannot what? Do qurbani. No, qurbani becomes obligatory upon a person looking both at his what? Zakatable assets and non-zakatable assets. If he meets the nisab, then he has to do qurbani. And in this now, in calculating your zakah, you look at what your zakah anniversary, right? If you have the wealth at that time. But in qurbani, you look at what? A person having that wealth on the 10th, 11th, and 12th of the Hijjah. These are the days of slaughtering, right? So understand, listen, you have to what? Anticipate. Meaning what? You don't wait until the 10th day of Eid to check and see if I can do qurbani. Where are you going to get animal then? You have to prepare before. I mean, you have to anticipate this by the 10th, 11th, and 12th. I will have this amount of money. I will have this in my possession. So you would you make preparations for qurbani. As we mentioned, this class is not a lecture, right? You can ask questions, right? And don't worry, when you ask the question, the camera won't be on you, right? So the one who asks the question, go ahead.
One question pertaining to from the last class.
From the last class,
We spoke about people of Ship trying to determine that the is 2 years. Or both, actually 2 years, at least 2 years. Let's say if we see a minor from 10 million or 2 years. Both the animal and sacrifice. Maybe about 2 months after, somebody come and tell me, I'm going to have 7 years after the idea and 10 months.
No, if it is proven, right? If it is proven, then I think that will, you have to be what? You have to be what? Understand here? You have to prove that clear as daylight that is what? Actually 2 years. Right? Similar, for example, listen, a person what? Performs salah. After performing salah, he walking whatever down the road, and then he sees some najasa, some impurities on his clothes, and the amount of impurities is more than the pardonable amount, right? So 2 things can happen, right? That what? That probably on my clothes or my body while I was praying, right? Or the next possibility is what? Probably after salah, that that impurities came on my clothes while I was walking. Right? So here now, would that person have to repeat the salah or not? No, he doesn't have to repeat the salah. That's what? He 100% sure that was in salah. If there's a possibility that what? It occurred out of salah, his salah is what? Is valid. Right? So here now, a person what? He has to be what? 100% sure that, listen, I have a feeling, no, 100% sure that animal was actually less than 2 years. Right? And think about it, if we do this investigation before, right? If we do this investigation before, right, it will help us, all right? For example, what? In giving zakah, there's a certain amount you could do. Example, what? You have to pay a zakah, so you have to give it to what? A legit recipient. The most you could do is what? Ask that person that you could receive zakah, right? And what else you could ask the person? So he might know, okay, you have the nisab. This is the nisab. right? And you ask him a certain amount of questions that you comfortable afterwards, right? It's not okay, you can receive zakah, and he just say, yeah, he want to receive. But you ask a certain amount of question that you have what confidence that this person, yes, is a recipient of zakah. Not that, okay, you can receive zakah, you ask that person if he can receive zakah, that person doesn't even know the conditions for what? Being a legit recipient. Alright, you can receive zakah, but then if you give an our take, meaning what? No, you have to what? You have to know that person can receive. So you ask certain questions, right? And you're satisfied, then khalas, you give your zakah. And according to the Sharia, if it is what? Given, and afterwards you do your investigation, but then afterwards you get to find out that, well, no, this person, he has more money than me. Right? Or this person is not a legit recipient of zakah. Then khalas, once you did that investigation, right? So what in purchasing animal type, wallahu a'lam, right? Listen, if it's a few days difference, a few weeks, right? Because normally what you use, the hadith mentions thaniya, right? Thaniya. The word thaniya is what? Is actually when the two teeth, it comes out full, right? These two are teeth below, and all the animal, the bull and the goat and the camel you would see, right? The bull is 2 years, the goat is 1 year, and the camel is 5 years, and these two teeth below, right? It would what? It would be what? Mutamayyiz. It would fully grown then, fully grown, not short like the rest. It fully grown, right? So yes, you could get a difference of a few days, a few weeks, this and that. But if at any upfront purchasing that animal, a person said, listen, that animal is 23 months. At least you know it's 23 months, right? And you don't purchase it, it is 22 months. That bull is 22 months. You don't purchase it, right? But if afterwards now, right, a person say that animal, that probably looking like at 20 months. You know what? He not sure, right? So you can't say, okay, do over the qurbani, you do cover up the qurbani, right? Unless what is actually proven. Huh? 9 months to get a young. Anybody understand? No, we're checking for the year. We forget the gestation period, the pregnancy period. Not looking at that. We're looking at what? The year, right? The year, the cow must be what? The bull must be 2 years entering the 3rd year. Right? The goat must be what? 1 year entering the 2nd year. The camel must be 5 years entering the 6th year. Right? The only allowance, as we mentioned last week, is that of a sheep. Right? And the allowance is contingent. If that sheep, it has the size of a 1 year sheep. Right? If that sheep, which is what, 6 months or more, it has the size of a 1 year old. Only then, right, there's concession in that. Only the sheep based on the size, right? But if the bull is 20 months, right, 22 months, but look like a 2 year old, that's not going to work. No, you check. Hey, well, how many years you have? Will I check in from when I born or when? No, right? You check for after birth, right, on that day, right? And the pharmacist write it down. Right, but listen, right, don't put any doubt in your mind. A person what you investigate and you check and you purchase the animal and the way you have to purchase the animal. And khalas, we don't know. Say that animal what? Actually what? We don't know. Actually what? Less than 2 years, right? We ask Allah Azza wa Jal that He accept. Listen here, you went and looked for the animal, the farmer says 2 years, it looked like 2 years, they check and everything, right? But probably a month short. How you know, what you're going to do, what more you could do? Right? You tell the farmer, well, you swear, right? Swear by Allah. No, khalas. How much you could do, right? So you do what you could do in your capacity, right? Right, I'm not just speaking about Qurbani being obligatory, right? It doesn't mean that, listen, I don't know if we mentioned in this class, but even though Qurbani is not obligatory upon a person, after hearing all this amount of rewards, right? A person would listen, he would still want to do Qurbani. It's not because it is obligatory upon me, that is why I'm doing Qurbani. No, because of the amount of rewards Allah Azza wa Jalla has what? Placed in Qurbani, right? Qurbani is done on the 10th of Dhul Hijjah. That is the best day on the face of the earth. And the best action on that day. And so much so we learn that what every single thing connected to that Qurbani is what rewarded. Even the hair that we throw away, every single strand of hair is what a reward. So a person looking at that now, hey, forget being obligatory upon me or not, I want to do Qurbani. And this is how a believer should do. Listen, many people, how they go for Hajj. Hajj becomes obligatory upon a person if he has the means. He has the means to go for Hajj, right? And also he has finance that can finance his dependence while he's absent. So he has the means, and Hajj becomes compulsory upon that person, right? The days of any Hajj. But a person now, what he does, he saves 5 years, 10 years, 15, 20, 25, his whole lifetime he's saving to go for Hajj. Him saving to go for Hajj, that is not obligatory upon him. But he's saving what? Till it reach at times that it become obligatory upon him. Why? He has that desire of making Hajj. He has that desire of visiting the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He has that desire, so he would make the arrangement. And most people, this is what they do. They save, right? Hajj is not obligatory upon them, but they save until what? They get the amount and khalas, they go for Hajj. If you look at Qurbani, how much? 1,500, 2,000, right? Listen, a person even not working, right? Not even working. If a person were to save what? $25 to $30 for the week, right? 25 is $30 for the week. You're taking Sunday off, right? 1 day off. 6, 5, 30. You have doubles for the day. $6. $6, right? Or 5, 6, 30. You just take 5 days. Forget the weekend. 5 days. You multiply by 50 weeks. There's 52 weeks in the year. Just multiply by 50. 50 by 30 is how much? 1,500. Right? You eat 3 doubles every day, you just eat 1. Or two, right? I put that $6 every day. And this is, if a person he really wants to do Qurbani, right? He makes a program and a plan, he can do Qurbani. And the most he might fall short by 100 or 200 at the end, right? So forget Qurbani being obligatory upon a person, right? This, a person, I can't do Qurbani this year, right? And he talking on the phone ring, he got $5,000 phone, but Qurbani is just, right? Just think about it. Time for Eid now. Jubba, $600 jubba, $500 shoes, right? Watch, whatever. Hey, that's $2,000-$3,000. How much is Qurbani? Right? The whole thing about it, that desire has to come in our heart. Right, in our hearts, and the importance of Qurbani and the rewards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put in place, and He has installed for that Qurbani. And then that person, he would what? He would think different. So Qurbani, if Qurbani is obligatory upon a person, right, he does Qurbani for himself. If the obligation is upon him, he does for himself. If within a family, Qurbani is obligatory upon 2 people. And we speak about how it becomes obligatory. For example, upon him and his wife. That is 2 separate Qurbani. Upon him, his wife, and he has a child that has what? The nisab. Right? That is what? 3 separate Qurbani. 1 Qurbani wouldn't suffice. Right? 1 Qurbani. When you speak about one Qurbani, a single Qurbani, you speak about what? A sheep or a goat or a share. 1 out of 7 times 7 portions in a bull or a cow, a camel, right? So this 1 sheep is Qurbani for the entire family, no? If it is obligatory upon you, that is a separate qurbani. It's obligatory upon your wife, that is a separate qurbani. Obligatory upon your son is a separate qurbani, right? So now, yes, if you want, you can do qurbani on their behalf, right? From your money, but you need their consent. If they give permission, right? Let's say the son has to do qurbani, the wife has to do qurbani, the husband has to do qurbani. The husband says, listen, I will buy 3 sheep or 3 goats or take 3 shares from his money, right? Once consent is given, right? By the others, right, the qurbani would be valid, right? As you mentioned, okay, you have zakat to pay, right? 2,000 zakat to pay, right? That person said, listen, I'll pay zakat for you, I'll pay 2,000 for you, right? So once he seeks permission, then he what? His zakah is paid by somebody else's money, right? He gives consent. But if it's that this person, he doesn't want to pay zakah, and he has to pay zakah, zakah is obligatory, you know what? I don't want that person be sinful, you know what? So I'll pay zakah for him, right? So if you pay, that zakah, his zakah is not paid. Unless he gives consent, listen, but you have to pay zakah, right? We don't pay it for you, I will pay with my money. He gives consent and zakah is paid. The consent must be there. The permission must be there, right? Also, sometimes a person will say, you know what? I too old for them qurbani and thing, I too old for that. When you look at the compulsion, it has nothing about what a person being able or not able, right? A person has the nisab, he's what the aqil, he has intellect, meaning he is sane, he is baligh, and that person is a muqim, he's a resident, he's not a traveler. Whether he is able-bodied or not, right? Qurbani is obligatory upon that person. What he has to do? Authorize somebody to do qurbani on his behalf, right? Authorize somebody to do qurbani on his behalf. It's not because, okay, I get old now and I can't really move and I can't go and look for animal and I can't slaughter and skin. That doesn't have anything to do with the obligation of qurbani. Similarly, a person, what? He has money, he has what? The nisab, right? But he on bed, he can't move, or he can't pay zakah, because he bedridden. No, you have to authorize somebody to pay your zakah. Now, qurbani on behalf of a deceased, right? There's two scenarios here. A deceased, a person before he dies, he left instructions. This is when I die, do my qurbani. So this comes on a wasiyah, right? Wasiyah, a will. So now, this is taken from his estate, from 1/3 of his net estate, right? If this amount is there, right? So that qurbani that is taken from his estate by the instruction of the testator, the deceased person before he died, then that qurbani, all of its meat is shared. Understand? I think we mentioned in the last class, so all of the meat is shared, as opposed to what? You doing a nafil qurbani on behalf of the deceased. I want to do a qurbani on behalf of my grandfather, my grandmother, or whoever died, right? So what that, understand over here, this is not taken from the estate of the deceased. This is my money. I am doing a qurbani voluntarily, tatawu'an, right, on behalf of these deceased people. Right? So with that now, I can do whatever I want with the meat. Share the meat, eat the meat, store, whatever. Just like I would with my qurbani. Right? Now?
Can you take like one share and make it
right. So once is a nafil qurbani, you understand? Once is a nafil qurbani, right, you can make intention for the entire ummah. Right? Your qurbani already fulfilled. Right? What is a nafil qurbani, for example? You already what? Have a share or doing what? A goat. Understand? You could have what? 7 million, 70 million, or you have just the bare nisab. Your compulsion is one qurbani. Right? Your compulsion is one qurbani. Whether it be a sheep or a goat, right? Or 1/7 of a camel or a cow, or the entire thing if you want. Right? Your one qurbani. Right? If you were to do a second one, that would not be what? Obligatory. That would be a nafil qurbani. So this is a nafil qurbani. So with that nafil qurbani, you can what? Intend for what? One person, 2 people, or what? Multiple people. Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam, he slaughtered what? Two ram. Taib an Muhammad, he mentioned an Muhammad wa an ummatihi. This one is for what? Me, and the other is what? For my entire ummah. Right? So that is allowed, right? So a person doesn't necessarily have to do a qurbani for what? Nana, Nani, Chacha, Chachi, and everybody like that. One nafil qurbani, and he can intend what? Multiple what? Recipients, right? Because you are the owner of that qurbani. Time to collect that. Now, who this belongs to? Not the dead people. It belongs to you. That is your qurbani. That is what? That is what? In your ownership, right? Who's going to collect? Who's going to claim that meat? Not Nana, that is yours, right? But this is what the intent and the rewards, it goes to these people. This comes under what? The on the Bible for the Isal al-Thawab, sending and gifting rewards, right? In sending and gifting rewards, you could have multiple recipients. You can make dua for your mother, your father, and say Ameen. Or you can make dua for your mother, your father, and all what? The believers, right? The entire ummah, living and what? Deceased, right? This is under what is said in Thawab. And this is only for what? Nafil Qurbani, right? Nafil Qurbani. But what is important, even in Nafil Qurbani, the owner must be one. Understand? What does that mean? The owner must be one. Hey, let me chip up on the Qurbani now. Right? So you can chip up on the Qurbani. You can have two people in what? A goat, two people in a sheep, or two people in a share. So you can't chip up and do qurbani, right? What you can do, right? Chip up and make one person the owner. He is doing the qurbani, right? And his intent is what? That the rewards reach what? This one and that one. Inshallah, others will be benefited, but the owner must be one, right? So three people can't chip up for one share. No, one person, he will own that share. Right? One person would own that goat or that sheep or that what 1/7 of the cow or the bull, right? And yes, if he intends that the reward goes to this person, that is all well and fine, right? So for example, what? The sheep is what? $2,000. 2,000 boy, he put 1,000, I put 1,000, we do the qurbani now. No, it can't work like that. If you want to give him the $1,000, right, so that he can have $2,000 and do the qurbani, that is his qurbani, right, and his intention, that what the rewards, these people benefit from it, that is okay, right? But you don't have what? More than one owner for a qurbani. When you speak about the qurbani, we speak about a sheep, a goat, or 1/7 of a bull or a camel. Yeah, two people could do a bull. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 could do a bull. Right? 7 could do a bull, and the shares would be what? Equal. Right? But you don't have two people in one share, or two people in one goat, two people in one sheep. So that's qurbani on behalf of the deceased. And we spoke about any nafil qurbani with the intention of any multiple sending what rewards to multiple recipients. Now we have qurbani and hajj, right? Listen, when you go for hajj and in performing hajj, you do qurbani there, right? Understand? There's two different things. A person performing hajj, all right? A person performing hajj, there are three types of hajj, or three types of people that will perform hajj. You have a mufrid, a mutamatti', and you have a qarin. A mufrid is that person when he enters the miqat, his intent is what? Just hajj. He doesn't make umrah, right? His ihram is just for hajj, right? That what person you call al-mutamatti', hajj at-tamattu', right? What he does, he enters the miqat with the intent of just umrah. He goes and he performs umrah, and after performing umrah, he comes out of ihram. And he waits for the days of hajj, and when the days of hajj enters, he adorns the ihram of hajj and he performs hajj. A qarin, what he does, when he enters the miqat, his ihram is both umrah and hajj in one. And he would go and he would perform umrah, and he would still remain in ihram, and then he would perform hajj. So these three individuals, right? The first one, the mufrid, on the 10th of Dhul Hijjah, when he leaves from Muzdalifah to Mina, What he does over there, he would pelt the Jamra al-Aqaba, the third one. Right? After pelting, if he slaughters, that is an optional slaughtering. That slaughtering on the 10th of Dhul Hijjah, day of Qurban, that is an optional slaughtering for him. The Qarin and the Mutamatti', their slaughtering is what? Wajib. Right? Their slaughtering is wajib. But nevertheless, all of these slaughtering is called what? Dam ash-shukr, had. That animal which is slaughtered in the precincts of the haram. This is what? Not Qurbani. This is dam ash-shukr. This is slaughtering out of gratitude, showing gratitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for having afforded that person to perform Umrah and Hajj. That is not Qurbani. Right? That is not Qurbani. That is what? Specific to Hajj. So how Qurbani comes in here now? Is it possible that a person performing Hajj, he what? He slaughters what they call Dam Ash-Shukr al-Had, and Qurbani is still obligatory upon a person? Yes, it's possible. Look at what makes Qurbani obligatory upon a person. The Nisab, right? A sane person, a baligh person, right? And that person who is a muqim, a resident, right? So a person will say, a person, if you go to Makkah, how are you going to be a resident? A resident and a temporary resident has the same rule. And listen, if you traveling, you're a traveler, you're given the allowance of a traveler, musafir. But upon reaching your destination, you intend to stay for 15 days or more. You are not a traveler anymore. But are they different part of the world? Yes. You're in a different part of the world. You are now a temporary resident, which has the same rule of a permanent resident. You know what? You have no qasr. You have to perform full 4 rakah. You understand? Jumu'ah becomes obligatory. Qurbani becomes obligatory if it's at that time, right? So a person now, if he's in Makkah at that time, and his intent is what to stay in Makkah for 15 days or more, he becomes a temporary resident. And becoming a temporary resident in that time, and he has the nisab, Qurbani becomes obligatory upon that person. But that person has a choice to either do what? His Qurbani in the haram, or he can do Qurbani at his hometown. Anywhere else he wants to do Qurbani, he can do that Qurbani. But over here is a difference between what? What is done in Hajj and Qurbani. Alright? It's a big difference. Right? So yes, when you go to slaughter on the 10th, the same day, everything. Right? But that doesn't necessarily mean that what? That is not Qurbani. That is connected specifically to Hajj. Right? Here now, if what? Qurbani is obligatory. If that person is a temporary resident in Makkah at that time, right? He intends to stay 15 days or more, then he has to do Qurbani.
So if we ask temporary,
Yeah, once you make a person make intention to stay for 15 days or more in that place, his destination, then he what? He becomes a muqim. The laws of a muqim and a resident would apply. There's no, the concession given to a musafir would cease to exist. Right, so we spoke about the days of slaughter, the 10th, 11th, and 12th. I'm going to mention from the 10th is what? The 10th, we mentioned from the 10th, after Ishraq. Not only after Ishraq, after what? Because Salat al-Eid is from Ishraq until just before midday. So if I what? If a masjid, a musalla, anywhere in that community, anywhere in that locality, they already perform Salat al-Eid, then slaughtering can take place. Even though what? Until now you haven't performed Salat al-Eid in your masjid. I already mentioned that. It's not necessary that what? You slaughter after Eid in your masjid. No. You can slaughter the entire what? Vicinity here, the entire community, right? The entire district can slaughter once Salat al-Eid was performed. Right? Whether it be what? In this masjid or another masjid. Or this year, this what? It doesn't even have to be a masjid. Once Salat al-Eid is performed. So that is only 10. That will go straight until what? Sunset. That 10th finished. From sun, the 11th would start from sunset now. That entire what? 24 hours again until what? Sunset. That is 11th. The entire day and night. right? As you mentioned, some ulama, if you look at the classical books of fiqh, they'll mention it is makruh and slighter, slaughter, do qurban in the night. That karah over there is because of what? The lighting system. Meaning what? A person doing qurban in the night, what? He can harm himself, he can not do things properly then. But some people prefer the night, right? So listen, once they have proper lighting system, a person can protect himself from harm and danger, then there's no karaha, there's no dislike in what? In doing qurbani at the night, right? Except that what? If we want the qurbani to be on the first day, then it must be before Maghrib on the day of the 10th of Dhul Hijjah. So we go to the 12th now. So a person allowed to slaughter that entire day straight until just before sunset. That's the third day of slaughtering. Alright? And as we mentioned, Qurbani is the actual what? Slaughtering. So if a person what? Can slaughter before sunset, khalas, you can process in the night. Because your Qurbani was done before sunset. Slaughtering is the Qurbani. Processing and sinabudi that is something else. So once it's what? That slaughtering is done what? Before sunset, then that Qurbani will be valid. And we also mentioned about the qadha for qurbani, right? We mentioned the qadha for qurbani. The qadha for qurbani is actually what given the entire animal in sadaqah if a person has the animal, or if he doesn't have the animal, that person he gives, right? The worth of it in sadaqah, right? And here now, whether it be what in this country, another country, but he gives what? The worth of that animal in sadaqah, right? I know, I'm sorry, he had asked that question about treating. I don't know if he is satisfied with the response, right? Because listen, what you understand where you came from last time, right? Listen, if what he asked last time, listen, if you have to give the animal in sadaqah, you'd give it to one person, because hey, $10 share this sheep or this goat, right? But he wants to give it to what? That not really practical. Give one person it, right? But he want that what? He gives what? Multiple people it, right? So what about slaughtering? Understand here? After Qurbani, there's no slaughtering, right? After the days of Qurbani, there's no slaughtering. If a person had to do Qurbani, right, then the animal remains. The entire animal is given in what sadaqah, its value if he did purchase the animal, right? Yes, the jurists, the fuqaha, they mentioned if a person were to slaughter, right? Just say, if it were he were to slaughter, would that then suffice for his what? Qadha Qurbani? Right? They mention, understand here, the asal, what is primary here is the value. That is primary. So listen, if after slaughtering, right, if the value of that animal decrease, say what, that animal alive, it worth how much? $2,000. After you slaughter that animal and whatever, cut it up and whatever, the value of that animal is what? Now $1,500. You would have to take out $500 extra and pay. Why? Because what was due was $2,000. Now, because of your slaughter and cutting and whatever, the animal now is $1,500. You decrease the value of what was supposed to actually go for sadaqah. $2,000, right? But normally, listen, an animal after processing is more valuable than an animal that is alive. I know that's all the time, right? But this is what you look at, right? And understand, we're not speaking about the meat alone. Every single part of that animal in what? Must be given out, right? The head, the tail, the foot, the lungs, the liver, right? All of it must be given. So that's why if you want that what? That qadha, right, be fulfilled, the easiest thing is what? Take that, right? We spoke about the intention, right? And listen, everybody, every Muslim, they have intention for Qurbani, right? Forget what they intend to do with the meat. The intention is for Qurbani, right? They want to make burger and tikka and this and that, and hey, they're doing it lillah. That doesn't negate the fact that they're doing it lillah for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal. We spoke about Qurbani shares abroad, alright? So we're not going to discuss that again. Alright, we spoke clipping the nails. Alright. The age of the animal. We spoke about certain defects. Alright. If an animal what? The eyesight is what? Severely impaired, blind. And listen, the farmers would know that, right? How they graze and this and that. Animal blind or severely what? Impaired. That animal cannot be used for Qurbani. And all that we're going to mention over here is what? The animal is not valid for Qurbani. It doesn't mean that the animal not permissible to eat. You can slaughter that and eat it and halal tayyib. That is what? Halal food. But it would not then suffice for qurbani. Animal born without heirs also would not suffice for qurbani. Right? If more than 1/3 of the ear or the tail is cut off, then that animal would not be valid for qurbani. Understand? In certain countries, this is what they do, right? They cut off the tail. Probably I don't know if by law you have to cut off the tail of a certain animal, right? So these countries, okay, we understand there's a certain amount of any permissibility could apply there, because you can't find except with what? Tailless animal, right? They say for whatever health reason or whatever, right? But you can't find except what? The tail out, right? But here in Trinidad, that is not the case, right? So a person would say, you know what? We cut out the tail because of this and because of any health reasons and whatever. That animal should not be used. Why? Because there's other animals available, right? In Trinidad also, with regards to qurbani, an animal born without horn, it could be used for qurbani, right? But the animal that has horn, and the horn, one of the horn is what? Broken out from the root itself. Not just broken out, but from the root itself, right? Qurbani is not valid with that type of animal. Now, people, what they do, they dehorn animals, right? When the animal is born within the first 1 or 2 weeks, right? They would dehorn, remove the horn completely, so it wouldn't grow without any, it wouldn't grow with any horn, right? So that also, those type of animals will not be valid for qurbani, right? Those type of animals will not be valid for qurbani. These were dehorned animals. Understand? We're not speaking about animals that are born without horn. Animals that born with horn and after it was dehorned, right? These would not be valid for qurbani unless a person living in a place and this is the only type of animal that available, right? So here we have a choice. At least you choose that which is that meets the proper requirements. So even though the person argue with, listen, when we dehorn the horns, remove the horns, this is for our protection and safety and this and that, we understand all that, right? You could kill that animal, you could eat that, and that's halal, tayyib. We speak about qurbani, right? You could kill a nice a bull. I always hear about it, I never eat it, but if you kill a bull about 7, 8 months or or 1 year, you say that's nice meat, right? Real good meat, right? But it would work for qurbani. Now, a bull that was castrated. So a castrated animal is permissible, right? A castrated animal is not considered to be an defected animal, so that would be jaiz and permissible, right? An animal that has no teeth, right? To the extent that it can't chew properly, right? It wouldn't really survive long anyhow. But listen, if all the teeth just drop out after a while, right? Or so much teeth drop out that animal cannot chew properly, then that animal cannot be used for qurbani. We spoke about the lameness in the leg. Then we spoke about all these defects. If it occurred while taking that animal to the place of slaughtering, animal stubborn, they don't want to come, right? They want to go, right? So the animal was free from these major defects, right? But bringing that animal to the place of slaughtering, right? Any of these defects were to occur, then it would still be jaiz and permissible to slaughter. You don't have to go and replace that animal, right? Right. So now, what about you purchase an animal for qurbani, and then one of these defects manifests itself in that animal, started to not walking on the 4 feet, just walking on 3, right? The next one not even touching, right? Or the tail get chopped out to that extent, 1/3 or more, right? Animal eye burst, right? So all these things now, you look and see. If that person, if qurbani is obligatory upon that person, understand, 2 types of people doing qurbani here. That one who is qurbani is obligatory upon him, and that one who qurbani is not obligatory upon him, but he's still doing qurbani. So these are the 2 people who do qurbani. Those qurbani obligatory upon him, and the other person qurbani not obligatory upon him, but he's still doing qurbani. So the first person, who Qurban is obligatory upon him, we mentioned earlier that that compulsion is not on a specific animal. Right? That compulsion is not on a specific animal, that is upon himself. Right? So if he purchases an animal for Qurbani, and that's what happens to the animal, then he has to replace that animal. He has to replace that animal. As opposed to that person who Qurbani is not obligatory upon him, but he made it obligatory upon him by purchasing that animal. So for him now, that person Qurbani is not obligatory upon him. If that would have happened to his animal, he will not have to replace his animal. That poor person would not have to replace his animal. That rich person, the owner of the nisab, he would have to replace that animal. He would still do the Qurbani with that animal, yeah. He would not have to replace it. Right? And this is what? Similar in the case of what? We speak about what? Defects enter the animal. Similar is the case of what? The animal would have died. Right? A rich person then. His what? The compulsion is not upon a specific animal to say that, okay, the animal died, no, then he has no Qurbani. No, that is upon himself. Alright? So if he purchases an animal and what? Defect, major defect, or it died, somebody stole it, right? All of that he would have to replace that animal. Right? As opposed to that poor person, what he would do, if it got stolen, right, if it died, right, he doesn't have to replace it. Major defects enter it, he's still allowed to slaughter it. Because why his compulsion is upon the animal itself, not upon himself, because Qurbani is obligatory upon him. Now,
the animal have to be a male or we have to say that?
right. It doesn't matter, male and female, right? Both jais and permissible, except in Trinidad here we just slaughter male, right? We slaughter male, but there's no karaha, there's no dislike in slaughtering what female, right? Except that if a person, it is makruh for a person to slaughter a female that is pregnant or probably close to delivery then, giving birth. If that female is pregnant, you might know, but if what, you know that female is pregnant, right, they shouldn't slaughter it. Right? The Qurbani will still be valid, but you know, you shouldn't actually slaughter it. Right, so you're slaughtering the baby come out. Alright? Understand here, you're going to find different views here now, right? But the most appropriate ruling here is that what? Listen, that is what? Not appropriate. The ruling is that is part of the Qurbani also. Right? So some jurists they mentioned that will be slaughtered also. Right? That will be slaughtered as part of the Qurbani also. Right? But what is better according to other jurists, and this is the view khalas, that a person should what? Take. Listen, that animal, you give it in sadaqah. We're going to slaughter what? A newborn animal, I don't know how the meat in that is be. Right? If it was edible or what. So that same animal, you give the entire thing in sadaqah, that young, if it were to come out alive. Right? No, I don't know how that is be edible. Right, so khalas. Bismillah. No, I mean a person would willfully do it, right? A person doesn't know about the animal, right? He purchases an animal, he doesn't know that it's pregnant, right? You slaughter it. Then after you see what? A young one in the belly, alive or dead or whatever the case, he doesn't know, right? But that's what the jurists they mentioned. If an animal is what? You know the animal pregnant, right? Or close to what? Delivery, you don't slaughter, you don't use that animal for Qurbani. But if a person were to use it, is his Qurbani valid or not? Yes, his Qurbani is still valid, but he shouldn't actually use such an animal. Right? Listen, people who, farmers, they know about the animal, right? Who don't know, they just don't know, right? Like myself, right? Farmers, they know. Because sometimes when you're going to look for animal, you have to watch, go and see. Boy, there's not bull, boy, there's a heifer, you have to look good. Right. So now you have The issue here now with replacing an animal, a Qurbani animal. Somebody can just get my water right over there on the table. You purchase an animal and then what? You change your mind. You want to replace the animal. Is that? So you purchase the animal and now you want to replace it. And for whatever reason, you get a bigger one or next one or whatever, right? So go back to the same principle. If it is what? A rich person, when you say a rich person, sahibun nisab, a person upon whom Qurban is obligatory. Qurban is obligatory upon that person, then what? The obligation, as you mentioned, is not on the animal itself, it's upon him. So much so if the animal were to die, then he has to replace that animal. Why? Because the obligation is not on the animal, it is upon him. So he's allowed to what? Change that animal, right? He's allowed to change that animal, exchange that animal, bring a new, I don't want this for Qurban again, I want the next one. He's allowed to do that. Why? Because the compulsion is not on the animal itself, it's upon him. Also what? A poor person, we speak about a poor person who doesn't have the nisab, a poor person means a person who means Qurban is not obligatory upon him, but he still wants to do Qurbani. So when he purchases the animal now, right? This is when, with the intent of Qurban, this is when it becomes obligatory upon him. And this is the obligation of the animal itself. So much of that animal were to die, as you mentioned, he does not have to replace it. If a major defect, when it comes upon that animal, he's still allowed to slaughter that animal for Qurbani. Alright? So this person is, the second person, is he allowed to what? Exchange his animal. Alright? He is allowed to exchange the animal anytime before the 10th, 11th and 12th. Why? Because these are the days, this is when Qurban becomes compulsory upon him. Right? These are the days of the days of compulsion. Right? 10th, 11th and 12th. So he allowed to what? To change and exchange that animal for next one. Right? If he wants. Right? Once is what? Before the 10th. Alright? The 10th enters, no, khalas, he has to use that animal. So Qurbani shares, we spoke about this. Say the same what? Female, right? We just spoke about the young, what happened to the young, what to do with the young, right? So about the milk then, alright? What about the milk? It's just if a person doing a female, and if a Qurbani, a female animal, whether it be a goat, a sheep, or a cow, that has milk in it, so what are you going to do, right? He allowed to milk it, allowed to drink the milk, understand that Qurbani animal, right? That is what lillah. So if what he milks that animal, that milk should be given to the poor. If he were to consume that amount, that value would be given in sadaqah, right? That would be given in sadaqah. That is why the hajj, or these animals that go to what? The precincts of the haram, this hujjaj, when they're making hajj, or they carry what? They carry what? The animals to what? The precincts of the haram to be slaughtered. You cannot seek benefit from that. You can't ride the animals, right? You cannot what? Seek any benefit from the animals, right? Unless there's what? Any dire need, right? The milk, this is what given in sadaqah. If the animal, what happens, so what? You know, this animal can't make it to the haram. You're going to die, you slaughter it. You slaughter it, you leave it, and you leave some sign, right? They have their sign they just put. I mean, the sign where they put blood on the what? On the shoulder, this and that, so the what? Everybody who's coming, the poor people will know that this is, you can partake of that, and you cannot partake of it. And you cannot seek benefit from it. The distribution of the meat. Understand, the meat, it belongs to the shareholders, right? So if you're doing what? The nafil Qurbani and you intend what? Zayd, Umar, Bakar, and living and dead, whatever, they don't own that Qurbani. You own that Qurbani. Even as a nafil Qurbani on their behalf, you are the owner of it. Alright? So the Qurbani animal belongs to what? The shareholders. And it must be distributed equally. When we speak about equally, not just the meat, understand here? Like an inherit, this is like the estate of a deceased person, right? When a person dies and he leaves behind what heirs, he receives 1/4. What? 1/4 goes to this one, 1/6 goes to that one, 1/8 goes to that one. It doesn't mean that okay. Every single asset, right? Whether it be a pin, every single asset he owns, this one owns 1/4, this one owns 1/8, this one owns 1/6. It's not like, okay, when a person dies, all the what? The jewelry automatically goes to the daughter, the vehicle automatically goes to the son, the kitchen and whatever the appliance and the house automatically goes to what? The wife. No. Every single asset, every single what? The minutest asset, you have what? This one has a quarter, this one has an eighth, this one has a third, this one has a half, like that. You understand? So in that cow, or that Qurbani animal, every single shareholder has what? 1/7, right? The hair, that one strand of hair is owned by 7 people, right? That tail is owned by 7 people, right? That meat, every part, every piece of meat is owned by 7 people. So that is when Qurbani, a man can say, no, I taking the chest, you know, I taking this. Who you taking? Right? Yes, mutually you could, you know, mutually you could sort out that, right? But listen, every part of the animal, it belongs to what? 7 people equally. If 7 people taking shares, 1 to 7 allowed, right? Any amount of 7 allowed, right? So the meat is must be shared what? Equally, right? It must be shared equally, weighed equally, right? And distributed. Afterward, you receive your portion, right? Hey, whatever you want to do with it, hey, only keep it, I don't. Whatever you want to do is your thing afterwards, right? But it must be what? Shared equally. And afterwards, why don't you do all that? But you take this. You could do that afterwards. Afterward distribution, right? But each shareholder must be what? Be allotted what their equal share. And this goes to what? So now listen. You have the head, you have the foot. And this is when you come to what? Agreement. Listen, you keep that now, right? And everybody agree that what? You take this. And the agreement come, you take that. Once everybody gives consent, right? For example, inheritance, right? This is your share, right? You take that now, but after what? It is attributed to you, right? You have the haqq and you have the right. You could give it to whoever you want, right? Or they take that, take this. So understand? But the first thing, it must be what? Shared equally. And the right must be given, right? And this includes what? Not like, okay, we're gonna slaughter, and listen, we don't have an arrangement, and listen, the head is his, right? No, the head is not yours, unless what? All of the what? 6 other shareholders, they agree to give you the head, right? Otherwise, the head, it belongs to 6 people, the tail belongs to 6 people, the foot belongs to what? 6 people, but you have to, in distributed, right, you have to come with, you need common, a mutual understanding then. Right? You take that, you take that, you take this, what you will say, right? And that, like that, you know, it will be distributed. Otherwise, you have to cut everything in what? 7, right? And the effort behind cutting there, so the head belong, right? You know what? The effort behind that, but you take that, I don't want our head, you take that, right? And like that. Right. And the ulama, they mentioned this connected to what? We don't go into details there. Normally what? Yes, you're shared in what? 7 equal amount, right? 7 equal shares, and you distribute. But you should also put what? Liver, right? Not gizzard, just liver and whatever in every what? Share. Why? Understand here? This is like what? Understand? This is how riba and interest comes in, right? Riba and interest, listen, if the item is the same jins, meaning the same type of item, the same item, for example, you need potatoes, right? Understand here? You can't trade, understand? You can't trade 10 pounds of potatoes for 20 pounds of potatoes, you know. That is the riba, right? But have no money inside here? No. You can't trade what? 10 gallons of milk for 5 gallons of milk. That is a riba. That's a whole different thing over here. So in chain, what the meat, it must be what? Equal, right? Because of the same jins, the same type, alright? So this is where you put in what? The liver, what the liver does, understand here? If the meat over here is, for example, what? 20 pounds, right? And the meat, just say for example, you get a little difference in the weight. Say the meat over here is what? 22 pounds. So 20 for 22, that is what? That is what? Not a valid transaction there. Come by what? You distributed. 20 for 20. So the extra 2 now, that will be in lieu of what? Liver. There's 2 different things. Liver and meat is 2 different things, right? So yes, what you should do, try your best and share it what? Equally, and still put what? The liver would make up for whatever shortcoming then, because that's not from the meat itself, it's a different thing. So you can listen, you could trade what? 10 pounds of liver for 2 pounds of meat. Right? It doesn't matter, because this is different from that. So the excess doesn't matter. Right? We don't want to go into that whole thing, but just remember, just share it equally. Right? Share it equally as much as possible, and put your liver and your gizzard, your lungs, and to make up. Alright? What's that? This show is not the last class. We have a class after this. We just have. We could go to the 8 o'clock. Right. So we have all this yet to coming up. You want to keep it for next class then? All right. We'll keep it for next class. Right. Next class we'll start from what? This is the distribution of the meat. Let me just finish up what? The distribution of the meat, right? And we'll, yeah, just one slide again. All right, this, right. So normally, listen. This is a distributed. Okay, after you receive your share, we finished. You receive your equal portion. So from your portion now, right? From your portion, it is mustahab. Is not a condition. Right? It's mustahab, commendable at what? Yes, your portion is divided into 3. Right? One for yourself, one for the family, one for what? The poor one, this and that. Right? That is mustahab, a person can do that, right? But there are certain what? Places, listen, people have to acknowledge, listen, that is people Qurbani, right? Certain places, you do Qurbani by them, they taking a portion of your meat. Right? Why you gonna take a portion? That is not yours, right? Even said, I don't want to, right, but you can't take people meat like that. If you want to what? Charge them for what? Any service, you could do it, right? You can't say this, if you didn't Qurbani by us, right? We taking this amount of meat for the people in our locality. You could probably ask, and the person give consent, no problem, but you can't just take his meat like that, alright? That belongs to him. Also, it's not permissible to sell any part of the animal whatsoever, right? Understand, any part of the animal, it cannot be sold, right? For example, listen, we go to the head, boy, right? Nobody wants to see the head. If we sell the head, I want to buy the head for $500, right? So listen, you can't sell it, but listen, in the event that what? It were to be sold, right? That money entirely given in sadaqah. You can't benefit from that. You can benefit from what? The item itself, but you can't sell it. For example, what? The skin, you can make a mat with it. You don't want khalas, but somebody wants to what? To buy it, right? Khalas. If you sell that person, whatever money you get, that everything in sadaqah, right? Everything in sadaqah. And also, we always hear that, listen, it cannot, no part of the animal can be given as payment to the butcher, right? So, but listen, what also falls under payment is what the butcher saying, listen, I'm charging you $1,000, right? $1,000, but if you give me the head and the foot or whatever, I'll charge you $500. So you say, okay, $500. No, that is also what? That's a payment, right? You giving him, understand here, it doesn't mean that you cannot give the butcher, you know. You can give the butcher what? Meat. In distributing meat, you can what? The man come to help me, all this animal, the man kill, you give him what? You can give him meat, right? But the meat should be what? In lieu of a payment, a monetary compensation, right? So even though the butcher said, listen, I'm charging you $1,000, but if you give me what, 10 pounds of meat or whatever amount of meat, I just charge you $500. So you say, well, the man give you a discount. But no, that is meat in lieu of what? Service, and that is not permissible, right? That is not permissible. No? Right, so if you're doing that, whoever and the shareholders, they must give consent. Right? They must give consent. Nobody given consent. Listen, you want to do it from yours, right? Then two things over here you could do. Right? Use it, take that amount, right? And then what? You keep that weight then. And when everybody is receiving their share, that you minus from yours. So that the weight and yours less. What is better than that, distribute 7 equally, right? Then after, so your share now, you take from that. Because normally what's going to happen, if you're going to cook, you might just take the best piece, right? And you may end up with khalas that, this what, I know the types, but you know, they had this loin over here, that, right? And you just take all that, and they say, oh, that's from my share, and you take the weight of it. No. So what is better to do is that, listen, you divide it what? Understand over here, a person may not outwardly say no, but he not pleased with that, right? And he may not be what? Vocal about it. So that's why you know who in your bowl, and you know what? They say, go ahead, that is not an issue. The 7 people say, listen, hey, take from it, that is not a problem, right? And they get that consent, then that is no issue. You can take from it, and then afterwards, you take out the amount, right? And then after, whatever is remain in 7 equal portions. Everybody give consent to that, right? But sometimes it isn't, some people, they don't know, right? So better than what? You share that in 7 portions. What comes in your nasib, your amount, that amount, that you take from that, right? Also, we spoke about, okay, meat, what? This Qurbani meat can be given to what? Non-Muslims also. And this, you don't have to what? Bury the bones and bury this and bury that and everything else, just collect the bones and bury, right? That is not a condition, alright? And if you get your Qurbani animal, and some people just do it, not some people just do it, but it could happen, right? And you take your meat now, and you mince it up and you making samosa to sell, right? Meaning what? Not only making samosa to sell, but what? That meat cannot be an ingredient in your samosa. That is Qurbani meat. That is your Qurbani meat, right? So just like you can't sell your meat, your Qurbani meat, you cannot use your Qurbani meat as an ingredient in food to be sold, right? Yeah, you can make samosa and you give away with that, right? But listen, this is not a trick or a hila. We're not talking about trick, but listen, you could use somebody else's Qurbani meat. Somebody give you Qurbani meat, right? That is not your Qurbani, it's a gift, hadiyah, right? This is not your Qurbani meat, this is a gift. Somebody give you a gift. For you, it's not Qurbani, that is what? A gift. So that now, you can, whatever you want to do with it, you can sell it, you can what? Eat it, you can make a samosa with it, right? But your Qurbani, right? Your Qurbani, you cannot what? You cannot what? Sell it, right? You cannot benefit like that from it. You can eat and sell, but you cannot, just like you cannot sell the meat, cannot sell what? Any part of it, right? The same would apply if it is an ingredient in a food. So if it do happen, then that you estimate that amount and you give it in sadaqah, alright? And again, understand? Yeah, we're not speaking about, when we speak about Qurbani meat, we're not speaking about, we speak about your Qurbani, right? Just like what? Look at it, what? Like your zakah, right? If you have a son, a child that is what? Poor in the sense that what? They don't have the nisab. A baligh child doesn't have the nisab. You cannot give them your zakah. It doesn't mean that they cannot receive zakah. They can receive zakah, but not your zakah, right? You can't give to your grandparents, right? In zakah, right? In Qurbani here, right? You cannot what? Sell your Qurbani because it's your Qurbani. But if somebody what gives you Qurbani meat, right? Somebody gives you Qurbani meat, that is not for you. That is not Qurbani. That is what? That is a gift. That is not your Qurbani. So whatever you want to do with that, you can sell it, you can eat it, or whatever you want to do with it, right? And you make samosa too, right? Now, just one slide here, and this will finish it off. Next week we will start the method of slaughtering them, right? Those were parts of the animals that are unlawful to consume: the flowing blood, the male genitals, the female genitals, testicles, bladder, the glands, and the gallbladder, which is the bile. These 7 parts we all know, right? Except what? The testicles, people is what? just eat it, right? You understand the blood they would eat, the male, female genital, this and that, the bladder, the glands is like the rank, right? The bladder, the bile, they don't eat it, right? But the what? That part of the animal to what is not permissible to eat, right? Understand here, dam al-masfuh, this is mentioned in the Quran. Be not impure, that is the flowing blood, right? That is the flowing blood, not the blood that is being the meat. A man washing all the meat, because when I'm washing the blood coming up, so you wash until the meat get white. No, not that blood, right? The blood that flows at the time of slaughtering, right? The blood that is in the meat, that is not najis, that is tahir, that is pure, right? That is pure. If that comes in contact with your clothes, right, or your body, it does not make it najis and impure. We speak about the flowing blood. The flowing blood, that is the what? The impure najis blood. And that is what haram to what? To consume. And if it comes in contact with your body, your clothes, it makes it impure and najis. Right? We'll stop here inshallah. Oh, go ahead.
One thing we can do this here, inshallah, is the who of distribution we distribution we
yeah, you ask. So listen, we have a section here, a container here. Who want what? To leave meat for to be distributed to the poor, put it here, right? And like that. So once consent is given, it's not like, okay, listen, everybody doing Qurbani what? We taking this amount. But listen, if a condition, not a condition, but upfront, listen, our masjid, our jamaat, right? This is what we do, right? Normally people who participated, they leave this amount of meat to be distributed to the poor. And if he gives consent upfront, there's no issue, right? The most important thing, what consent is given. Then the permission is sought and bas. طيب جزاكم الله خيرا. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. سبحان الله وبحمده سبحانه وتعالى. أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون.